Hello, my name is Adam McLeod. Today I'll be discussing Ted Bundy. I'm going to talk a little bit about his early life first. Bundy was born in Vermont in 1946 and was basically raised by his grandparents. Bundy had believed that his grandparents were his real parents, while he felt his mother seemed to be his older sister. Bundy's mother married in 1951, and Bundy began to feel isolated from everyone, as four other children were in the same house as he was. Growing up, Bundy was a pretty good student in school, and he also made very good grades as well. Bundy's life began to turn as he grew older and went into high school and the college. He met his first love in college and eventually became heartbroken because she had left him, and he was devastated, and this had a very big impact on his later life. Now let's describe the issue. Ted Bundy was described as a charming, articulate, intelligent man, but little did we know that he would go down as one of the worst serial killers in U.S. history. Bundy would use these traits to help pull in his victims, and it definitely worked for him as he killed again and again. Many researchers say that of his victims were selected due to the same type of physical similarities as Stephanie Brooks, who was Bundy's first love. Bundy began his killing spree in the year 1974, and he didn't stop. Many young women began to go missing around college campuses around the Washington and the Oregon areas. Bundy then moved to Utah, where he continued to murder these young women, and while he was in Utah, he enrolled in school there as well. While in Utah, a graveyard of bones was found in the Washington forest by some hikers, and the bones matched up with the women that went missing earlier that year. Investigators from Washington and Oregon were able to create a profile and create a sketch from what witnesses have said to be a man with the name of Ted, who was approaching these women to ask them for help. Bundy continued to murder these innocent young women as he moved from state to state to his next stop, which was Colorado, where he murdered many young women there as well, all the way down to the southeast coast when he finally ended up in Florida. Now I'm going to talk about some data and statistics. Before it was all said and done, Bundy had killed anywhere between 25 and 40 young women, while some sources said that he even killed over 100 women. Authorities compared the similarities of these young women that were disappearing. They were all white, thin, single, and had long hair that was parted in the middle. And many people say that these women were very similar to the Stephanie Brooks. Bundy used different types of methods of murder to these women, such as kidnapping, knocking them unconscious, raping them, and in some cases strangling them as well. Many of his victims were college girls or in the age range of a college student. A very interesting fact about Bundy was that he had a very high IQ score that was about 124, which is very high, signifying superior intelligence. Bundy only killed women, and he never admitted to killing men, saying it really wasn't his style to kill men. Since the death penalty was reinstated in 1976, over 1,000 convicted murderers have been executed in the United States, and of these people, yes, Ted Bundy was one of them. In the year 1989, Ted Bundy was one of 37 people to get executed here in the United States of America. Now let's switch topics and let's talk about some relevant research and info. Ted Bundy will go down in U.S. history as one of the most prolific serial killers ever. Bundy had a pornography addiction that started at a young age, and many studies have been made that many other serial killers were addicted to pornography as well. Of the many women he murdered, he got away onto Florida State University and attacked a group of sorority girls and killed some of them. Bundy was able to escape prison not only once but twice, and his escape routes were very interesting. Bundy's first escape was he was able to jump out of the window from the second floor and managed to get away, but was caught a week later. Bundy's second escape took place in his cell, where he was able to drill a hole through the ceiling of his cell and managed to crawl through. After his escape, he managed to rent an apartment near Florida State University in someone else's name, Chris Hagen. Before it was all said and done, Bundy had 3 trials. Bundy's last murder was on February 9, 1978. He took the life of a 12-year-old girl by the name of Kimberly Leach. She was the youngest of all of his victims. The term serial killer was invented and first used for Ted Bundy as a description of his character. While all of these trials were going on, Bundy married a woman by the name of Carol Boone and had a daughter who is somewhere out there in the world today. Bundy married her while he was in his second trial for the committed acts up to that point. During his trial, he considered his wife to be a witness. Bundy had been in many prisons across the states before the last prison he was in was located in Florida. Over the years, while in prison, Bundy had many doctors and other people come in and interview him. Bundy fought the electric chair for many years by confessing his innocence over and over again. Bundy knew exactly what he was doing because he had studied law and he was a very intelligent man. Bundy's delaying tactics finally came to an end on the 24th of January 1989, and he was executed at 7 a.m., and his body would eventually be cremated and dumped over the grounds in the Washington State Mountain area. After his execution, people outside were clapping and were joyful. Now let's switch to some practices and policies here in the criminal justice field. Murder is one thing that is usually unexpected, and we never know when someone will strike. Bundy was a very smart man, and he had an ultimate plan, and traveled from state to state, which was hard for him to be caught because he was always on the run. Law enforcement does everything they can to help stop these serial killers, but there isn't an answer to completely stop them. Law enforcement may be able to catch a killer in time before he continues to kill, but this isn't always easy because, like Bundy and many other serial killers kill over and over again before they are finally stopped and captured. There has been research done to help understand these violent offenders such as serial killers, to understand individual level factors such as personality, temperament, self-control, temper, or psychopathy that influence their behavior. These researchers are done to help stop future offenders, but it isn't easy by any means. Now I'm going to discuss some of the explanations of his crimes, or why he did the crimes he did. Growing up in his teen years, he became very socially awkward and was very shy and kept to himself, and he didn't have many friends as well, and this possibly had an effect on him in his later life. He suffered severe depression that researchers say had a severe effect on him. Bundy was classified as a high factor 1 psychopath, which means he is very intelligent and had few indications of psychopathy early in his life. The components of a factor 1 psychopath include a grandized sense of self, pathological lying, conning, manipulative behaviors, lack of remorse, lack of empathy, and failure to accept responsibility. Bundy was also known to have an antisocial disorder. Over the years, Bundy was tested for his mental illness, but his results came that he was just as sane as anyone else. And now I want to leave you with some interesting facts about Bundy. He declined having his last meal before his execution. Of all the women he attacked and murdered, only 5 had survived. In his final days, he mentioned that pornography was to blame for his desire to murder these women. There's also been some movies out about him that have been produced about him and his crimes. He also converted to be a vegetarian during his last years on death row. His last interview was with Dr. James Dobson, in which he discussed the events that led him to his murders. Bundy was sentenced to death 3 times in 2 separate trials. He was supposed to be executed in February of 1986, but he was granted a stay of executions. The day of his execution, his last words were, "I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends." That will conclude this presentation. Thank you.